All right, it's leveling kit time. So this is my dad's 2021 Ram 3500 6.7. It's just a tradesman, but honestly I'm really impressed how nice these tradesmen are nowadays. All right, so here's the kit all laid out. Got the 4 Fox shocks, got the rear blocks and new U-bolts, directions. There's your sticker that adds probably like 100 horsepower, maybe 75. There's your springs, all Carli. And I know these and those shocks are not just factory shocks, they're actually tuned for this specific truck. So yeah, pretty cool. And so I was reading online and some people were saying that the 2019 or like 2020 plus, something like that, they're a little bit taller in the rear and you need these. I'm not gonna put them in at first, see how it looks and go from there, because for my measurements from tire to wheel well, it needs about 2.5 in the front. So this would make it still raked forward and we're going for like actually level. So we're gonna put the front on first and all the shocks and see where we're at, and maybe I'll put these in. All right, so under the truck here, wow, this thing's clean. It only has like 1,000 miles on it, so it's still all new. So on the bottom here, you got a nut and a bolt. This side's an 18 mil. Now I'm just gonna putting an open end wrench on this side to pop that off. And on the top, it's a 21 mil. For this one, it's kind of up in there, and there's no nut. It just goes into the frame, and same for that side. So I'll pop those off. All right, next side, and thank fucking God for Milwaukee impacts. My life would suck without them. Let's go. All right, there's the old ones. This is a tradesman truck too, and I believe that the tradesmans come with lower end shocks, so because the Laramies and the other ones have like blue shocks, so another reason why this will be a good thing. And there are front and rear shocks, so make sure you're using the right one. I don't think it matters which side. Look at them. Woo! Those things are nice. Woohoo! Baby. So I'm probably gonna, my goal here is what I'm gonna do is put the bottom in, put the top in, and then cut this. And as it's extending out, I'm gonna try my best to put the bolt in right when it extends to that point. We'll see how good it works out. See how awesome my plan works. I got the bolt right here for it, and I'm gonna hold it right here, cut it, and stab it in. It didn't specify which way to put the shocks, but from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure this is the right way. And it makes more sense because there's a lot of grime down here. It's cleaner up there for it. So here we go. They put some gnarly tape on here. Oh, going. Oh, I missed it. I fucked it up. I had a feeling that would happen. That's okay. Okay, I lied. So I did a little research and I'm pretty sure the body's supposed to go on top. I guess I thought that was counterintuitive because there's more dirt down here, but also that's the way the letters are, so we're gonna go with it. And now I gotta compress this back up in here. There we go. Whew, that was hard. All right, here's the shock, same thing on the passenger side. I'm gonna put the top up on there, cut it, and then guide it into there. All right, let's try this fancy shock trick one more time, now that I know what I'm doing. Boom, did you see that? That's how it's done right there. Also, I didn't sink it all the way in. Oh crap, so I have to kind of pull up on the shaft, and then it goes all the way through, and I'm gonna tighten everything down and the back will be done. Well, for now, unless I have to put those blocks in, but we'll see. Okay, so rear shocks are in. They look sweet. I'm gonna clean this up, pull this out a little, and then get going on the front. All right, truck is in the air. It took a little longer than I thought. Here's my jacking system. I jacked right there, right before that cross member. Put the stand right in front of the lower control arm. I had to put some blocks because I only have the little jack stands, the 4 tons. I should really buy some big ones. If you do this, I would get some big ones and maybe bigger jack, because that sucked and it's barely off the ground. And I know you're thinking, you're like, how the hell are you gonna put the new tire or these tires on when the lift's on? Well, I'm gonna jack up on the axle a little bit and it should smush it enough for me to get under it. If not, I have another plan, but should work. So I'm gonna rip these tires off and we'll get going. So here's on the inside. First thing I'm gonna do is take off these sway bar end links. This is an 18mm. And we'll blast those off right now on both sides. See if my little 3/8 Milwaukee will do it. No problem. There we go, those are both loose. So when I drop it, it'll just slip through, and when I raise it back up, it should push right through. Next is the axle side. Right here, axle side brake line bracket. I'm gonna leave this guy, just the one that's closest to where the brake lines go up to the truck, so I can stretch it down, getting a lot of stretch in there, and it won't break. Milwaukee for the win again. Maybe not. There we go. All right, that's disconnected. I'll do the other side. Believe it or not, I actually did read the directions, so I know how to do this. Pretty crazy. I skimmed, didn't read them. Okay, so I was reading through the directions, and next I gotta pull the drive line out. Well, not out, just undo the front on the axle side. So as per directions said, you put a ratchet strap from arm to arm, from radius arm to radius arm. Get set up here. Put a ratchet strap from radius arm to radius arm, and to catch it when it falls. And these are 15 mils on the drive shafts. And these are Loctited. Don't forget to put Loctite in them when you're done. Watch me forget. And he's gonna throw a drive line through his truck. It's a common problem on 3rd gens. I should really replace mine. All right. See how well this ratchet strap works. Doesn't even touch it. Nice. Well, I tried. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything just sitting there. Maybe I should ratchet strap it up. Oh, look at that. It sits right. It sits pretty perfectly on that radius arm. Yep, that's mint. All right, up next is shocks. This bottom bolt that goes right there is a 21 mil, and there's this on the back side, so you don't have to put a wrench on the back side. But note, when this axle's up and you undo that shock and that's already undone, the shock is the only thing holding it, so it's gonna drop. So I have jack stands under here holding it so it doesn't just slam to the ground, because that's the only thing holding it up. So my plan is I'm gonna put a jack and walk it down, and we'll go from there. But so let me get the other side out, and then once I get the other side out, we should be on to lowering it and pulling those springs out and put the new ones in. I'm doing the driver's side shock right now. I got a little pressure on the axle. That jack is just there, there's nothing on it. I'm gonna pull this bottom side out. See how it dropped? That's what I was talking about. So I'm gonna jack it up a little so I don't screw up those threads. All right, now for the top part of this. It's kind of what I was dreading. So you're gonna want 18 mil, preferably one with an open end or a closed end ratchet. That's what I used on the other side. It worked pretty good. I was able to get it out no problem. With this guy, it's kind of a pain. I went in from right over here and then was able to get it right on top. It just fell out. It tried to twist on me a little, but it still popped off. They came out really easy because it's all new. So this side's a little easier actually, because you can just go like this. Ooh. There it goes. Not too bad. It's an 18 mil, by the way. I was holding a 17 before. All right, there's the shock out, and it goes like that with the little perforated pieces on top, your cap, and that piece, or in your nut, sandwiches them. So you should get all three of those pieces on top. Okay, last step for taking it apart, and the scariest step. I gotta lower this whole axle. So I got a jack right there, my big jack on the pumpkin. That jack's doing most of the work. That's just stabilizing it. And I'm gonna slowly walk them down until this spring gets pretty loose. It's already pretty loose, but let's see how far down it goes. Okay, I got her lowered down. What the? That was way too easy. Went pretty good. I basically did all the jacking with the one on the pumpkin, and that one was just kind of there to stabilize it. But there was a solid, like, probably 2.5 inch gap. Here's the other side. You can see, I mean, there's a solid, probably 2.5 inch gap. So I guess we'll send it. I'm leaving those in there, the rubber things, and I'm gonna go grab the new ones and try them out. Let's see how they look. Oh yeah, they're definitely longer. Cool. Hope they fit. Let's try it. Also, these are directional. There's an R and an L. Yeah, driver, passenger. So don't screw that up. Okay, so it doesn't say which direction these springs go in. So here's your retainer. There's a little nipple on there. So it only goes one way in there. So I want to say it goes like this. That's the way the riding is. Oh man. I need to go down like another inch, looks like. Alright, time to keep lowering. So my axle, I had to lower it down like 2 more times because whatever, how low you think it is, it needs to go about 3 times as low. So it's pretty much sitting, I think what's making it not go any lower right now, it's not resting, like it's still on the jacks, but I'm pretty sure the track bar is holding it back right now. So I'm gonna try to throw it in, just cause. Let's see what happens. So I was right, the letters go the way you should read them. And that top part sits in there just like that, and that nipple goes in that hole. And let's give it a shot. Ooh. It's so close. Oh my god, it's literally like a 1/4 inch. That's lame. Okay, the driver's side was easier for some reason. The passenger was a little harder, but what I did is I got the top up in there, lined up, and I kind of walked the spring on this side of it, it's hard to see, on that side of the ball, and just kind of pushed it over with that big old screwdriver pry bar. That is not the best way to do it. It worked, and it's in there, but if I were to do it again, probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably buy a spring compressor. Oh my god, I just said spring compressor. Yeah, I'd probably buy a spring compressor, compress it about 1/2 inch, an inch at most, probably not even an inch. Like literally like a 1/4 inch would have made this 10 times easier. But I got it in, so if you want to buy a spring compressor and do it, do it. I know there's mixed feelings about those. Okay, so now it's front shock time, but I'm gonna jack the whole axle up probably about 5 inches or so. So I don't have to, because if I put the shocks in now, they're not gonna be long enough to hit the bottom out. They're just gonna dangle, and then I'm gonna have to try to line those up while jacking it up, while watching those, so that's too much. So I'm gonna jack it up like 5 inches and then put the shocks in. So I'll do that now. I jacked up on the axle. I was pretty much switching off from that one to that one, kind of juggling both of them at the same time to walk it up. And I do about 2 jacks and then check it. And I kept checking to make sure all the little rubber pieces, top and bottom, were in. And they both look great. They're lined up. The bottoms look good. Spring is right where it needs to be. Same with up top. Make sure that gap right there on the end, very tail of your spring, is nice and tight. So this side looks pretty much fully seated. The other side is almost fully seated. And I just went ahead to check. Got the shock in, so I gotta put that bottom one in, and I haven't tightened the top one. But also make sure you align your shocks so the Fox is out, so everyone knows you have Fox shocks, because my dad really cares about that. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put both shocks in, and then hook everything back up, and we're done. All right, so here's the front shocks. They come just like the rears with this tape on there. You have to cut it. You can't, as much as I hate to say it, you can't do my cool method. You gotta cut them, let them extend. So you just take that top nut, top washer, and top bushing off. Slide it up in there. And make sure you got your bushing the right way. And with your washer the right way. And your nut. And these are locking nuts, so I'm not gonna put any Loctite on them. Okay, so that's finger tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that top one, and then push this shaft up a little, slide that pin in, or the bolt in, and tighten those down, and then we'll get back to hooking everything up. I got that side all in, bolted up. So if you thought compressing those rear shocks was hard, these front ones are quite a bit harder. So I'm gonna show you the way I think I would do it, because I gotta do the other side. So I'm gonna compress it further than the actual mount itself, and then I'm gonna let it fall, and as it's falling I'm going to try to slide that pin in, because these are really hard. Good thing I just got done bench pressing. Oh. Okay. It's a little clogged. There we go. Oh yeah. That way it works way better. On the other side, I tried to compress it while I was in the bracket, and it was really hard. So that's a pretty good way. And now I'm just gonna tighten all that down, and then tighten the sway bar back, or wait. Then I'm gonna jack it up a little more. Do the drive shaft, sway bar, brake lines, and put the tires on and go for a test drive. And I forgot to mention, these are now 3/4 inch nuts on the top, and then you use the factory nut or bolt on the bottom. Okay, so what I did for tightening this top one, so like I said, it's a 3/4. If you have a ratcheting one, it's gonna make your life about 10 times easier. And slip it in there. And what I've been doing is just holding the shock itself and tightening it at the same time, because we gotta have that fox facing out so that everyone knows we have fox shocks, because that's the whole point, right? There's all the old parts. She is on the ground and back together. So before I show you, got my sway bar back hooked up. Those are all tightened down on the shocks. Those look seated nice. Don't forget to blue Loctite those. Brake line, brackets back on. So there it is. So I think, God, I want to say it's sitting a little forward raked, but the tape measures don't lie. Or a little rear raked. So we're at just at about right under 12 right there. At about 11 there. Okay, so we're about an inch higher in the front. So maybe they were right. And this spacer they gave us is just about an inch. If you look at that. So I guess I will be putting those in. It's an inch off. So I got the front tires blocked. Front looks all good. And so the top, those nuts on top of that plate right there are 21 mils. And what I'm gonna do is jack up on the hitch so it lifts the body. And then I'm gonna pop those. I'm gonna put a little lift on there, pop those off, lift it a little more, get some separation, make sure the axle doesn't roll around too much, and then throw those spacers in and the new U-bolts, which are right there. So let's do it. Okay, so I got it jacked up and we have separation. So these plates go with the triple hole up, and they go in those 3 holes right up on top, and that little dowel sits right in that hole. But I need to go up a little bit more, which I don't know if that jack will do it. It's so close. I found out I need to buy bigger jacks. I always work on trucks. What an idiot. Okay. Oh, boom. We're in. Sweet. And make sure when you're bringing the axle down that you kind of guide those in so they pop in the right spot. So I want to throw that other guy in, lower the axle down, or the truck, and throw those new U-bolts in, and then I'll actually be done. Okay, so what I did is I slowly lowered the jack down, and I stopped every little bit and kind of shook the tires around and tried to guide those pins those dowels in the holes. And as you can see, they're sitting really good. There's a little gap up front, but I think when I throw these U-bolts in and tighten them, it will suck that up and then get my pinion angle right. So let's try it and see if it works. See, they're all tightened up, and that gap in front that I was talking about, when I put the U-bolts in and tighten them up, it's closed it up. Yeah, so they're nice and perfectly seated in there, all good to go now. And I made sure that U-bolts were nice and straight for both of them, so pretty easy to do those. I just jacked it up right off there, and I got enough separation with the 4x4 on there, so it's all done now. I'm gonna wait for my dad to come home and go for a test drive, but just from driving it around the yard, I can tell, because it was pretty rough before. So once he gets home, we'll go for a test drive and see how good it is. Okay, now that it's all on, let's see how level this leveling kit is. Mind you, I'm not on flat ground, so it's probably like 11 3/4. And that's just about 12, so it's pretty freaking level. If anything, it's up a tiny bit in the rear, which is, for what he's doing, better. Or he doesn't want any cali lean. So pretty good, and I'm impressed. I can already tell it rides better. It looks pretty freaking cool. Not gonna lie, this is a big truck. I'm 6'1", and it's pretty big. But he's got some steps I put on for him. Step there, tinted it out for him. So now it's test drive time. Well, my weekend has come to an end, and she's all done. Check it out. This thing looks freaking sweet. It definitely changed the look a ton on the truck. I will say it's more of like a 3.5 in the front and 1 inch in the rear. So as far as 2.5 inch leveling kit, a little off, but I'm a fan. I like it. As far as the ride goes, so before, it didn't ride horrible before, but it was just super stiff and bouncy, and it just made a lot of those bumps just way less harsh. Like the dampening is way better. So I mean, it still doesn't ride like a Cadillac, but I didn't expect that. But overall, it's way better, and like you could feel the compression of those Fox shocks are 10 times better than the factory piece of crap ones that came in it, and the spring rate's a lot better too. So plus it looks cool. So I recommend it. I think it's a good kit. It's pretty easy to install. Hard as far as the springs, but yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps.